Welcome to the Innovation Storytellers Podcast. We talk to innovators and disruptors in R&D, product managers, intrapreneurs and entrepreneurs, innovation thought leaders, and their storytellers who help bring their amazing ideas to life. Now, here's your host, innovation storyteller, CEO, speaker, and coach to the world's top innovation teams, Susan Lindner.
Hi, everyone. I'm Susan Lindner, and you're listening to Innovation Storytellers. For the last 20 years, I've been helping innovators and disruptors to tell their stories. 10 acquisitions, hundreds of innovative products, and countless hockey stick growth curves later, I want to talk about how innovators are using stories to pave the way and get their innovations to the finish line. I am thrilled that Elyette Roux is joining me as the head of customer experience for South Europe for Cisco Systems. She's here with us today as an intrapreneur, a customer centricity expert who is driving business transformation and customer and employee engagement as the core focus on her area of expertise. It's a constant motivation and a source of energy for Elyette to lead agile teams and create change every day. So from project management to key and global account management, P&L management, and to customer experience, that's all powered by digital innovation. Elyette has built a growth mindset around strategic business and operations transformations and topics with strengths learned from customers and employee experiences alike. I am so excited that Elyette could join me today. Thank you so much for being on the show.
Thank you, Suzanne. Very nice to be with you today.
Yeah, Elyette and I met at a fantastic conference in Paris called Innovators, and Innovators is spelled with the number 8 in the middle of it, innovators.co. And we had a fantastic time drinking wine at the breaks and having a fantastic discussion about, frankly, women in innovation too, right? I mean,
That's right.
We were actually surprised at how many women were at the conference and how many great voices we heard at the conference there. And fantastic to get best practices surrounded by people who are really at the cutting edge of innovation. That was fantastic. I'm so glad we got to meet.
Absolutely. And, you know, wine is a great driver for innovation.
Or just about anything else.
Okay, so and back to women in tech, you know, I do think that indeed we have a lot to gain having women because of the diversity, you know, diversity of experience, of background, you know, of just thinking differently and seeing the world differently. So I'm glad to be part of it.
Yeah, you know, I think just having a different gender at the table is an innovation move in its own right.
I agree.
For too long, this is an area we've had to disrupt for a very long time.
Absolutely.
So tell me, how did you get to this place of customer experience and what drove you there? Were your first inklings toward innovation when you first finished university?
No, not at all. I would say that I have quite a traditional, let's say, education, even though as a woman, it's not that traditional, but, you know, from a men perspective, it is, meaning that I went to an engineering school, I graduated and then went into aeronautics, where I've been doing project management, business management, and then I wanted to go more towards the, you know, customer centricity in terms of getting closer to the customer. So I thought that the best way is to go into sales. However, in aeronautics, it was not that easy for a young lady. So then that's why I decided to join a market for which I believe that there will always be a need for innovation and diversity, which is the energy sector. So I went into this company, Schneider Electric, where I, you know, have been working on international sales, global account management, P&L management, always linked to, you know, how can I help the customers actually, first of all, get more customers, but also get customers very satisfied with what we were selling. And this is where I discovered that sales it's not a single act of just, you know, interaction with the customer for selling your product and then you leave. That's not what my culture was meant for. So I kind of started to wonder, how can I make sure that what is being prescribed and sold to my customer will be giving him the best experience, that he's going to get added value faster, and that he would like to stay loyal to my company. And that's how I started step by step to dig into the experience, the customer experience, digital and non-digital, both sides, where I discovered that digital is really like an enabler, a mean, but it's all about people. So that's why, early in my career, I made sure that, for satisfying customer, you have to have satisfied employees. So with all the teams I've been working with, either functionally or directly reporting to me, it has always been my motto. How do we unleash the greatness of teams in order to unleash the greatness that can happen at the customer, so that they are satisfied and happy to stay and remain with the company I was working for. So then, lately I've already been in customer experience in my previous company. And what I discovered is that, the movement is fast when it comes to change, digital transformation, innovation. And I have to say that I was looking at, okay, how can I help gain speed? And clearly, looking into the IT sector, I did realize that going into that sector, I may actually help gaining speed with the customers I was working for. So that's why I decided to join Cisco, to gain speed into bringing added value to the customers into this world of digital transformation, with the innovation that can be, of course, product and technologies that, Cisco knows how to do that. But what was very interesting when I joined Cisco was that it was about an innovation in terms of business model. And my role, the one I took, was not existing. It was just being created, so not a lot of people have the opportunity joining a big company like Cisco, joining into a new role, no team, so building up the team. It's like starting your startup inside the big company.
Yes.
So very exciting entrepreneurial work. So if you go back to the question about innovation, what is interesting is that Cisco is primarily known for the network, what they've been helping in terms of the internet, then the Internet of Things, the connectivity, the collaboration solution, the cybersecurity solution, and so on and so forth. So they are known very much for their hardware. Okay, so this is the story. However, maybe you would be surprised to know that at least since the last 5 years, Cisco has been developing very much and very fast in terms of software. So now more than 50% of the sales of Cisco are software-based. So
wow.
Of course,
what kind of
when
software?
software that help with, this is a buzzword that you can hear a lot today, but, help manage your cloud solution, because most of the solutions now are on the cloud. Software that can help with the automation, that can help basically with the change of behavior of the teams managing the IT world, because as you know, with the cloud revolution, or now we are living in the cloud world, you have to have teams that work differently. What was non-added value tasks are being automated in order then to have your teams being upskilled to work on value-added tasks. And this is the whole shift. So this innovation of business model, selling software, because in fact, those customers are consuming much more software. They are consuming it in a subscription model. So this is really like the SaaS business model that Cisco has been putting in place now for some years. And they did realize that, this old model of sales where you prescribe, you sell, and then bye-bye, I hope it's going to work, doesn't work anymore.
Yeah.
Doesn't work anymore.
Right.
So then they did realize that they not only needed to change the business model, selling licenses, products under licenses, but that they also needed to accompany that with new way of operating and new way of organizing the company. And hence, this is where they created my organization, which is called Customer Experience, which is in fact the historical service organization combined with new roles that are working on customer success. So there is also an innovation in terms of roles, and I'm right now in the middle of it after 1 year and something into the role.
Wow.
So, yeah.
You know, I think it's really important what you bring up, because, you know, so often we think about innovation as just a product, you know, or just a new service that's being introduced. But there's a great group out of Stockholm called Innovation 360, and they're consultants. They do huge projects with like the government of Malaysia that says, you know, convert our economy into an innovation economy, please. You know, like, okay.
Yeah, wow.
And
Yes.
they've written a series of books, and they have found that pricing model and business model shifts have a greater impact on innovation, are more innovative than actually the introduction of a new product or service. The ability to revolutionize a company from the inside out comes with taking those very big decisions to shift a business model. And I can remember my first job in tech in 1999. I mean, there wasn't a company that didn't have a Cisco phone sitting on their desk.
Yes.
You know, and now I think most professionals, I mean, they don't even necessarily need or want a desk phone. Everyone operates by their cell phone or 2 or 3 cell phones.
Exactly.
And so the desire, I mean, to make that bold shift and say, we have to think outside the box, literally outside the hardware box and into software is pretty dramatic.
Exactly, absolutely. And this means that it's not just intrinsic change of Cisco, you know, it means that it's about helping the customers that are changing faster, actually, and helping also all the ecosystem around Cisco, because as you know, Cisco is working mostly and mainly with partners. So the go-to-market is so important for Cisco that another big part of this innovation in terms of business model is how we help also our partners shift their business model from a traditional sales business model, hardware sales, to software sales, plus the whole lifecycle management. And here I have introduced the name of the innovation, which is not that innovative if you think about it. But thinking lifecycle means that you completely shift your culture. So how to build indeed an innovation culture? How do you do that? So this is where I could tell you, you know, stories for many hours, at least for the time of this podcast. Whatever question you have, Suzanne would be happy to answer.
Yeah. So this time right now to make this shift for Cisco is so important, right? Some of your competitors are already there, right?
Yes.
Who are doing this shift. So it's an imperative from a business standpoint. Absolutely. That you make this move. But also, I think it's pretty interesting, and maybe even it's a competitive advantage that you see it as your responsibility to bring your partner ecosystem and your customer ecosystem into this digital future too. Yes. And so I imagine that is no easy task, because you are looking to innovate other people's companies who have their own cultures and their own restrictions and ideas about how innovation gets done. And I imagine you are dragging some people in unwillingly to this digital future.
So yeah, I agree. Even though, as you know, there is always some kind of incentives to help drag people, you know. So we are profoundly driven by, you know, more the carrot culture than the stick culture when it comes to the partners. But you're right. I mean, helping, or let's say showing that the change is needed and that it needs to happen now. Actually, maybe it's even too late, you know, for some. I would say that this is really challenging. At the same time, this is so interesting, because the thing is that in order to do that, first you have to make sure that when you think ecosystem, that the ecosystem and Cisco is aligned to the same vision of what the customer is, where this customer wants to go, and what we need to do in between to make it happen first, you know. So sharing the same vision already is something, you know, and of course it's happening at the executive level. But once this is shared, this is where the magic happens, you know, in innovation, meaning working on the transformation of this business model. Then the question is, how do we make this vision real? Mm-hmm. And this is where we face this culture challenge, because as you know, we are working in big companies with many silos, And as we discussed in the introduction, innovation is helped by diversity, by bringing new eyes together, bringing new experiences. In order to do that, you have to be able to get those people to work together. You have to be able to federate people. And I truly believe that as an innovator, this strength of, explaining, sharing the vision and getting the people federated around it so that actually then let's get it work. Let's make it work. This is, the outcome of first this movement. And I do think that my role today is allowing me to play this role. And at the same time, this is where you start realizing all the things that can sometimes go wrong, Either it's like I said, like the culture, the organization, the incentives, the fact that, in any change you have the detractors, even though you have your allies. So you have to build a plan, like if it was a commercial plan, but actually you do it for managing change. And what I'm saying, which was initially applicable to the ecosystem, goes as well with the customers, is that you may have a CIO telling you, okay, my vision of the future of work of my company is this in the context of digital innovation, digital transformation. But then, for the teams that are operating right now, this is not the vision. The vision is how I protect my job, because I don't want my job to go away. So, this, let's say, difference and between different level of the organization is also something that we have to cope with. So being able to adapt at any level also of the customer organization, being able to understand what is the culture of our customer, how we are shifting our own culture at Cisco, how we are helping work with the culture of our partners. This is a hell of a job, but this is so exciting. I really love it. And I'm sure that we will succeed, because we have a lot of interesting, nice, innovative people in Cisco that all together can make it happen.
So, it's fascinating the way you broke that down. So what I heard you say was that alignment is the first step, is getting everybody on board with the vision. And so that starts first at Cisco, right? And I remember when we talked a year ago, that was job number one for you, is getting everybody on board from shifting from this hardware mindset to the software mindset and how we sell, and recognizing that it's not, buy it, dump it, leave kind of combination. And so can you tell us a little bit about the story that you had to tell initially to get people on board, and where did it work and where did it not work at all?
Okay. So first of all, since you explained a bit of my background and my experience, as you understand, I've been in sales shoes for most of my career. So I've been in the shoes of the stakeholders that I was to, let's say, interlock with, okay? Because initially when I joined, my world was about how creating those interlocks to make it work together. So I would say that my messages have not been about technologies. It has not been about how they should sell, how we should sell. It has not been about innovation. It has not been about actually anything else but people. So my messages were about, okay, let's get to acknowledge the people that we want to help at the customer, the people we are working with at the partner, and the people that we are investing in Cisco to make it happen. So really my message has always been about shifting the way we work to another way of working. And the exciting thing about Cisco is that I was saying that, but the whole company is saying it. It's not just me, Elyette Roux, saying it. I'm not lonely, I'm not alone. It's really like a company motto, to go towards a conscious culture of leadership, to go towards the a social impact. So, for instance, leaders like myself, we are not only measured on what we do in the business, but also what we do in terms of societal impacts, communities impacts.
What does that look like? What is a community impact?
Yeah, it means that we when I joined Cisco 1 year ago, we had 5 days of what we call time to give. So time that we can get to actually spend time with NGOs or whatever actions we want to do. Volunteering, absolutely.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And during COVID, we were given additional 5 days. So we have 10 days this year to actually help our communities.
Wow.
And on top of that, each time we do this, we get some added money that is going back to the NGO from Cisco. So you know, it's really like a virtuous cycle.
Yeah.
And what it gives is that, for instance, as you understood, I'm not leading a sales organization. Okay, even though I could say that my team is selling a customer experience. We are not sellers, okay? So we are change agents. Mm-hmm. So as a matter of fact, you cannot reward this team with the usual sales, let's say, awards that you give every year. But Cisco is, for instance, recognizing its best top 1% roles with what they call Chairman's Winner Club. Okay, so they got the luxury of being with our chairman, Chuck Robbins, for a week. This award is typically and traditionally a sales award. But since last year, this award is also rewarding organizations like mine. And for instance, I got the privilege and the honor being the manager of someone in my team who got it, but not only because of all the action this person is doing with the customers and the partners, but also because of his tremendous impact on communities. Mm-hmm. And this is making me so proud because, you know, helping innovation, helping the change is something that is not just going with the technology, the digital side that we talk about. You know, it's really like human. I mean, what is the heart you put in the things you do? Not just the brain, but the heart, the guts, you know. And being able to live close to your values is something that is key for innovation because you need courage. And why? Because like I said before, it's not that easy, you know, it's not an easy journey. So you ask me, okay, what about things that didn't work well or may have been obstacles? Is that, you know, I'm going to answer you, this is the main obstacle is the typical human reaction to change. You know, what
which is fear, right?
Yes, exactly, fear or resistance. You know, why this lady, she has a role which is like new, like imagine a role where in Cisco, when you are a system engineer, you have had this role for 30 years. This role is existing for 30 years. And then suddenly you are facing this lady coming, telling you, okay, by the way, it's not just going to be about technology and prescription of the technology. It's going to be about how the customers adopt the technology and how they want to renew with us. Wow, okay. That's a change, you know, and of course, not everybody was ready for it. But I do think that for the past year, my role has been indeed to talk human to human on what does it take to go over this change and how to manage the change and how to adapt. Because even more now with this COVID period, we really need to be able to adapt fast and efficiently towards what something that we may not know. You know, what was okay a few months ago is not okay anymore for some customers and for some partners and for the teams in Cisco. So how do you do that? You know, for instance, my team is spread across South Europe, meaning the most impacted country with COVID, you know, so I saw it coming big time. So, you know, my Italian team in Milan, and then, you know, Israel, Spain, and we knew it was coming in France where I'm located. But, you know, this is a tremendous learning that when you do such a work, you have to be ready for everything, basically. And this is what I enjoy really much.
Yeah. So we get the alignment with the core values, right? You're lucky that as an intrapreneur, someone who's really beginning a whole new outlook within Cisco, that your senior management team up to your chairman is even on board with this, right? how much more difficult would your job be if they were not?
I would say that without saying too much, that is also one of the reasons why I decided to change companies. Because what I soon discovered is that if you are in the context where the company culture is not helping you strive in such an environment, then it's like mission impossible, you know? So you can always think oh yeah, maybe there will be a possibility one day, but hope is not making the innovation, you know? Yeah, exactly. You have to be able to execute something, to test something, maybe to fail. And you know, being able to fail, or to say, yes, we are trying this, or no, we've tried this, it's not working, but we could give it a try again. This is something that I have not seen happening very often in my previous life, so like professional life, let's say. So I do enjoy now having the possibility to do it at scale. And like I said, it relies also on the ecosystem. Yes. So this is a tremendous time for Cisco. And, you know, this is really the year for us that we call scale. So if you think about it, it's like this big innovation in business model where we have tested things, learned things. We have new portfolio, new organization model, new operating model. And now the thing is scaling it, which is another path into innovation. Yes. Yeah.
And you really can't do that without the partners and eventually the customers, right? Because they all have to buy into this program. So absolutely. Cisco is a company that is based on selling via partners, right? I mean, you have your own direct sales.
That's correct.
Predominantly you sell through partners. So what is the story, you know, for a value-added reseller who's been working with you for a really long time, you know, made their fortune selling Cisco phones and telecom equipment, and is now shifting to a software sale that they've never done this before. What is the story that you tell these?
So partners? I would say that we are lucky that, in fact, like you said before, we are not the only one anymore. You know, so I would say that cloud native providers have already started working with our partners in a way that the big partners, they kind of started working on, you know, what does it take to sell software and what does it take to support software in the way that you don't do like the typical break and fix type of support, but you really look at, you know, how the customer is going to utilize it, how he's going to adopt it, how he's going to optimize it, and finally renewing at least for the same amount and potentially for even higher amounts, you know. And this is something that we quickly discovered in Cisco, at least in my team, is that whatever you do with the end customer, it has to be combined with the work of the partner. Because in the end, even if Cisco is a big company, we are just, you know, in fact, compared to our ecosystem, we are just like 1/10 of the total ecosystem that we can leverage for such delivery of value. Okay, and delivering value is another type of job than what we've been used to doing, and this is also where the innovation goes. Is that, like I said, when you innovate in a business model, you end up innovating also in the organization, but also in the roles in the organization. So what we are doing with the partners is also helping them see that, first of all, yes, the software sales implies that you have to be there with the customer along the way. And after the renew, and here you go again, it's like infinite loop. It's the infinite game. I think you've heard that a lot those days. So in this infinite game, there is not a lost battle. There is battles that you take. Sometimes you lose, sometimes you win, but you always have to be there. So what are those roles that are going to be always there? And customer success are some of those roles that the industry, the SaaS industry, has innovated some years ago and that Cisco is applying now. The same as for the partners. They see they have to be with the customer along the way. You know, it's like you are yourself as a customer of maybe an iPhone, Apple, you buy your iPhone and you are told by someone that, there is a fantastic app that you can use on your iPhone that will help you do your podcast every day. But then the thing is that you have to actually make it work through your app store. And indeed, the Apple experience is great because it's easy, frictionless. But in the world, B2B world of, internet and connectivity, it's not that easy. So someone has to explain how is working the app store so that the customer is going to be able to use his app on the iPhone. It's a simple example to explain that we cannot make it alone. I think you said it in the beginning. Innovation is also it's mostly a teamwork and never goes alone. So we know great innovators stand alone maybe, but it has always been with a team behind. So yeah. I think that this is the story here.
Yeah. I mean, it's true. I think we think of innovators like Steve Jobs and Elon Musk and Bill, and, and they're always these guys. But, if you look 2 steps to the left at any of these presentations, right? There's always a Wozniak to a Steve Jobs, right? There's always a full team of engineers behind Elon Musk. Obviously, one person has a vision maybe, but it doesn't get implemented without a lot of help. So when you think about the different communications channels that you're using to get the story out, what's been most effective for you to convey this new shift to the partner ecosystem? Is it email, blogs, social media, video? What are you using to actually make a difference?
So let's say that, first of all, this is a change that we don't have to push so much for. I'm explaining. The change request is coming from the customers. They are big consumer and they have high expectations on, the IT market delivering for what they need in their digital transformation, which has really accelerated with the COVID. So I would say that the demand is here, which is good. So let's say that with the partners, there has been a first, let's say, step, which was taken through what Cisco is doing great, which is through events. So, Cisco is very well known worldwide for the famous Cisco events for partners or for customers, like Cisco Live that was in Barcelona just before COVID, where you have, a very high stakeholders, both in technology and in business, gathered in the same place with business and technology leaders of Cisco, with the partners, discussing about, what is going to be the new world. The thing is that the new world caught up, with COVID faster than what we would have expected. So now everything is virtual, but there is a kind of, I would say, emulation or followership, of the IT community towards what Cisco innovates. So now the question is, when you do a lot of technology innovation, like Cisco, how do you convince your partner not to get just into the technology innovation, software linked, but also into the business innovation? Mm-hmm. And basically it goes with the money. So it's about what we say, follow the money.
Yeah.
The money is what is driving in the end the needs for transformation, because as the way the customers consume and ask for it, to get a simplified way of consumption through licenses subscription, there is no other choice but to be able to follow this way of consuming. But then, the consumption is not anymore a one shot, one deal, like we were saying before. It's not about selling the box and you make all the money on the sales of the box. No, actually you make the money along the time. So it means that, yes, you get the nicely recurring money coming in if you manage to get the renewal. But if you fail in the life cycle to actually get the value to the customer, then the customer will say, I'm not satisfied, I'm going to subscribe. It's that easy as the app subscription on your iPhone.
That's true.
So what it means is that you, like I said, you always have to be there. And the partners that are realizing that, they did realize that, they are the ones that we say on the edge. Because the differentiation from a partner to another partner is that the ones that got this they understood that, it's not anymore about this box sales. And actually the money comes once. No, it's the money comes all around the life cycle. But if you don't pay attention, it can stop from one day, and then you cannot go back. It's very difficult to when you have a churn, as you know, which is a typical software term for losing a customer. When you have a churn, it's very difficult to recover from it. So the whole, let's say, focus is in a way shifting from how you better prescribe to how you better support your customer to adopt faster the value. And this is the change that we need to help drive within Cisco, with the partner, and with the customer, because they are not used to that. Nobody is used to that, Yeah. Make sense?
Yeah. So then there's training all around, right? There's training around for your team. There's training for your
big programs of enablement. The other thing which is also great about Cisco is that it's not only about what you learn from trainings, it's also what you experience in real life. So the possibility that I was given to actually build up new roles and employ the people that I thought was better fitted to actually deliver this value to the customer together with the partners are really those guys that, if I have to, when I say guys, it means men and women. I'm lucky to have both in my team. But I would say that what you see is that the people that goes in those roles are people that want to give a big meaning to their life, because they want to see the customers getting the full value of what the technology promises, and this is impactful because it goes with what I said before, the same way you would try to, in your time to give, to impact NGO. This is the same way that you would in your professional life and professional time try to impact positively what the customer wants to achieve. So, another example, it's like...
But can I just stop there for a second? Because
tell me.
You tied two really beautiful things together that, I just thought, oh, this is a nice corporate social responsibility thing where we send people into the streets and, go work in a soup kitchen or go paint a school or, plant trees somewhere. But the lesson that's actually being learned is how to put down roots, how to make connections with people that you haven't met before, how to create ongoing relationships with people, and then to tie those lessons back to the partner ecosystem that says, this is like planting a tree, and we start with the seed, and we are going to be here until this is a giant oak tree. We will be here together through this. And that's how everyone prospers. This is how we can, sit and have a picnic in the shade one day, right? So that the value.
I agree.
Back.
Yeah, it's about building something which is sustainable, not in the way that this is steel, but in the way that it can adapt to whatever weather conditions. So it's the super tree that can go, with storms and sun and rain. And yes, that's what we are talking about. And this demands, like I said, that people put their heart into their job. So I'm back to the culture topic. There is a culture for innovation. I truly believe in that now. After those years, I truly believe that you cannot be innovator in some culture, even though you have the mind of an innovator. And what I do enjoy in this work and in my company and with this ecosystem and my customers is that I can be myself, an innovator, with a purpose of, doing good for my customers, my partners, my teams, and the communities at large, and this is fantastic. I really enjoy it.
So can I ask a kind of an offbeat question? How much, because you're the second woman in innovation that I interviewed today for the podcast.
Yes.
And I wanted to ask her and I didn't. Now I want to ask you. This focus, right, on bringing emotion to the table, on this tied to community service, and thinking about the humanity in innovation. How much of that do you think is kind of a woman-centric mindset that looks at things a little bit differently. You know, I was just,
Yes.
my last interview was with a company that is creating biofuels, and they are capturing the carbon that's escaping from a steel plant and turning it into ethanol. But that could be a very boring scientific presentation that's riddled with a lot of chemical formulas and carbon footprint statistics. And, you know, that CEO's perspective is, you know, by the end of her presentation, she has people kind of like almost in tears, you know, about where, and we're talking about biofuel, you know, but there is, but there's something very riveting, and there's something deeply connective, you know, when you are attaching human values to really tough business and technological problems. How much of that do you think is like the incorporation, like you said, of more facets to the diamond, you know, of the innovation puzzle, of including more voices?
Yeah, so, I mean, you asked initially about, you know, women in this equation. I do believe that, yes, we have, as women, a collaborative way of working, way of being, that is really enabling something more, you know, because you heard me talking about federating, about followership, about breaking the silos, about getting people to get over the change resistance and denial and everything. And I would say that I'm lucky to be, for instance, a mom. And this helps because if I think about it with a step back, I'm a coach. You know, what I bring to innovation is that I'm a coach in my personal life, with my kids, with my husband sometimes, with my friends, and I am also as well with my teams and with my customers and my partners. And this capability, and you know, in coaching, it's a lot about the active listening, the consciousness about the people, the empathy. And I do think that a lot of women, they share those skills and capabilities, and maybe they are not yet in the right place to be able to use them. But I'm sure that in this tech world, there are so many possibilities for them to join and to use those capabilities. So I'm optimistic towards the fact that we will see more innovation as long as we see more women joining tech companies. And that goes not only with gender, that goes with any type of experiences. You know, for instance, in my free time, I'm mentoring young women refugee from Nigeria in an NGO, which is focusing his time and money that they are getting to help those refugees integrate into our European countries. And especially this young lady, she decided to integrate France with the vision that she would work into digital marketing and e-commerce innovation. Wow. And she has been, you know, shadowing me. I've been doing some mentoring and some coaching. And I do think that there are tremendous possibilities for the ones that actually can get help, because this is also the thing about Cisco and the tech world, is that we can help. Our technologies can help people, you know? So I really do enjoy having the heart into such a technology as the cloud or cybersecurity or data center. I find it fun, you know? And you need fun to make it work in innovation.
But maybe that's the name of the next foundation, is Hearts in the Cloud.
Yes, maybe.
So I have a question for you that I ask everybody on the podcast, which is, number one, what's your definition of innovation? How do you, if you were going to answer, fill in the blank, you know, innovation is, how do you answer that?
Yeah, for me, I would say that innovation is the capability to bring the best answer at the right time for what the needs is to be covered now and then. So what I would like to say when I say and then is that sometimes we tend to think that innovation is the answer to a problem right now. In fact, I do think that despite the uncertainty, we always have to put ourselves in the shoes of, whatever customers we serve and think about what's ahead for this customer. For instance, in Cisco, we work on what we call business resiliency. Resiliency means along the time. So right. How are we helping those companies along the time get the guys, their employees to work from home or to work better in co-working spaces that are supposed to be okay with COVID expectations, same for factories, same for, many environments. And I do think that the capability to give an answer to those needs that is able to adapt along the time, like we discussed, this tree that is supposed to to stay there, even with storms and everything, and continue to grow and adapt is something that is related to innovation. Yes. So it's a long answer for a short question, but I do hope that you enjoy my story around it.
And then I'll ask you another one that I ask everyone, which is, what is your favorite innovation? If you had to choose one, either, from history, from today, is it Elon Musk?
Okay, Mars? You know what? I'm going to tell you something. Actually, it's a bit about myself, a bit personal. So, with all those days working in front of a computer from my bedroom, I did realize that I missed something in terms of exercising. So usually I'm running, I'm a runner. So of course you cannot run in front of your computer right now. So I said, okay, what can I do staying in that room that maybe I can attend a conference and exercise? And you know what? I actually got into this innovation of having online yoga classes or Zumba classes or whatever classes that are now being online. So you might say, yes, it's just an incremental adaptation to the world that we are living in. But you know what? It's so nice innovation for the ones like me who needs a bit of exercising in this, work at home life.
Yeah, right. And it breaks up your day too, right? I mean,
yes.
You can choose when you do it. You don't have to wait for that special instructor.
Exactly.
And that's a revelation when you have kids at home and work. And, I imagine you have teams.
The balance is key. Balance is key to resiliency, which is key to whatever we need to do as innovators. Yeah.
Okay. Well, Elyette, so where can people get in touch with you, learn more about Cisco's customer experience work? What should we share on the podcast? What would you like to share?
Yeah, I would say that, there is an easy way to follow me and get in touch with me, which is LinkedIn. So I would encourage anyone to basically connect with me through LinkedIn. And I'm always responsive and always curious about, getting to know other people. So join me on LinkedIn.
Fantastic. And you post there about what's happening with Cisco's customer experience stuff too.
Absolutely.
Fantastic.
Yes, absolutely.
Elyette, thank you so much for joining me today. It's really been illuminating.
Thank you, Suzanne. Thank you for this time.
Thank you.
This innovation story has ended, but yours is just beginning. Go to innovationstorytellers.com, download the free Innovation Storytelling Blueprint, and sign up to pre-order Susan's book, Innovation Storytelling. Get the resources, runway, and recognition you deserve due out this spring. Remember to subscribe so you don't miss an episode. Until the next innovation story.